X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly X-Men podcast where we rank every story from A to Z.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Zach and Adam.
Hey, how you feeling today, Zach? Because I'm feeling a little sinister.
Are you feeling sinister? Because I'm feeling a little sinister.
I am, and I think we should talk about Mr. Sinister, one of my favorite X-Men villains, for the whole episode. What do you think?
I think that someone named Trent went on over to patreon.com/Xavier Files, threw some money our way, and said, hey, talk about Mr. Sinister. I don't care what stories, just talk about Mr. Sinister. And I said, fine, if I have to. We'll talk about the one with the cape.
Oh, he's got to have a cape. He needs that cape.
He loves that cape. He just loves that cape.
I think we picked some good ones, though. This is a nice variety of Sinister stuff here.
Yeah, because here's the thing, Adam. Sinister's not a man. Sinister's a system. Everything is Sinister.
Or it could be. Theoretically, anything could be Sinister. It all could be. The world could be Sinister.
You and I could be Sinisters.
That's true. I never really thought about it that way.
Have you checked your forehead recently?
Oh, I mean, I guess sometimes, feel like I'm breaking out, but I don't think I've got a giant red diamond. What about you?
I mean, look, I do not know if I have been marked by the Mr. Sinister on my right hand or my forehead, but I'm interested to see what happens here. I'll keep running with this.
Well, we have encountered the idea of Sinister as a system before, via the AVX crossover that we've reviewed before. And I believe, obviously we've covered Inferno, but this is going to give us a chance to give Sinister a little more depth here, right?
This is, because the first story we're going to be talking about is from Uncanny X-Men, Volume 2, numbers 1 through 3. Everything is Sinister. This is written by Kieran Gillen. Art duties are primarily under the pencils of Carlos Pacheco, but he gets some extra help here from Jorge Molina, Rodney Buscemi, and the incomparable Paco Diaz.
Yeah, and the style seems pretty straightforward throughout. Like, I don't feel thrown off when the art changes by any means.
It is interesting that in 2011, they decided, let's relaunch Uncanny X-Men for the first time ever, and
Bold.
they could not get a consistent artist for the first 3 issues. They had to get fill-ins.
That is pretty wild. I mean, you would think that there would be enough advance notice that they could have, gotten somebody to do the 3 issues maybe 6 months in advance. I don't know. That's usually how it works.
We're spoiled at this point of, this is, as we're recording this, in the middle of November 2019, which means we've been on the consistent art rush of Hoxpox and Docs, where everything was planned out over a year in advance. They put a lot of effort into it. This was not that. This is interesting, though. I've said before on the podcast, and I want to reiterate here, this is really what got me into reading monthly X-Men. I saw that Uncanny X-Men was restarting, and I said, I'm pretty sure that's the good X-Men. That's the main X-Men, right? I should read that one.
Yeah, I think this is actually a pretty solid place to jump in. We have a really great lineup here with the Extinction Team, where almost the entire team is some kind of maybe previous villain for the most part.
Well, Storm, who is pretty much the most unambiguously good person on the team, does point that out in a very killer scene where she says, everyone around the table who has not had a period in their history that could be largely characterized as supervillain, please raise your hand. She raises her hand, Hope Summers raises her hand, and Scott raises her hand, while Storm side-eyes him real hard and said, Scott? Should your hand be up?
maybe put your hand down. But there's some really novel things going on here. We've got Namor in the lineup. We've still got Juggernaut, Colossus here, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, this is the first real story after that.
Yeah, and we've got a Celestial parked outside headquarters, which is really interesting too.
Yeah, you're talking about the Dreaming Celestial?
Yeah, he's catching 40 winks and just chilling.
You're talking about Tiamat, the Dreaming Celestial, that was once, the communicator. He was called down by the Deviants, ready to call the Horde to harvest the planet. However, Urshrem, the judge, had that order canceled and had many of the Deviants called. Are you talking about that Dreaming Celestial?
I am, and this is the same Celestial that our good friend Mr. Sinister decides to kind of hack and steal his forehead, steal his head, and basically just take over the coastline.
Yeah, because Mr. Sinister has decided that maybe mutants aren't the best thing. Maybe Sinister's the best thing. Maybe instead of doing geneticist stuff to figure out what makes mutants tick, maybe he should just make the entire world him. And he loves that plan.
Oh, it's a great example of his fun narcissism. And we are greeted by basically a town's worth of Sinisters, all, I guess, in the service of a singular Sinister, who is then later replaced by another Sinister. It's a really fun concept.
Because it's not a hive mind, but it's kind of a hive mind. Like, there's still a Sinister.
Right. I don't know. It's an interesting approach. Like, they are literally a system in that, you can't destroy them, because if you destroy one, there's another to replace it. But I don't know. It sets up this really interesting idea that there could be a hierarchy based on a single person. It's like maybe what Multiple Man could aspire to. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a very interesting idea, and I love this idea because Gillen gives a flair to Sinister here. Makes him a little campier.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
A little more willing to laugh at the fact that, look, Mr. Sinister's a ridiculous villain. He looks like a child's idea of what the worst bad guy in the world could be. He looks like a vampire who got a flat top and decided that he wasn't edgy enough, so he went to Hot Topic and cut up all of the shirts.
Well, and here he is not in his classic shredded cape look. He
got into steampunk.
Definitely, yes. We get a much more streamlined, sort of, 19th century British look and feel to what he wants to surround himself with and what he wants his appearance to be. And it's great. I mean, there's a lot happening in these 3 issues.
Yeah, the team is a lot of fun. Gillen does a good job giving a spotlight to all these characters, giving them something to do. You know what Danger is about after reading this issue. You get what Hope Summers is doing. You understand Emma's interesting relationship here. There's a lot of really cool stuff. Powers are used in interesting ways. The dialogue is as snappy as Kieran Gillen is known for. I think there's a lot to love here. It sets up a new status quo for the X-Men that unfortunately didn't last but 10 issues because Avengers vs. X-Men was a thing that was extant.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because he really does have a really good handle on this team. And the interactions are really strong. And it's not just the dialogue. Like you said, they combine their powers in interesting ways. They strategize in smart ways. It's fun.
A lot of people I've heard will count Kieran Gillen as one of their favorite X-Men writers. I don't necessarily put myself in that camp, even though I really do like a lot of Gillen's run.
Mm-hmm.
I think Gillen probably had the most untapped potential out of any X-Men writer. He got a chance, but he was shoestrung between Fear itself and then Schism and then AVX.
Yeah, that seems to be a recurring theme of late, and it will come up again in this show. But this event-driven publishing schedule really does seem to limit some of our more talented writers here.
And it's not like Kieran Gillen's a bad comic book writer. Have you read literally anything that he's written? Journey into Mystery, very good. Young Avengers, very good. Wick Div, not my thing, but I hear a lot of people like it.
That's pretty good too.
I just didn't like the first trade. It didn't hit
it's
me.
not for everybody, you know what I mean? But you could see the craft that goes into it. You know what I mean?
I got it. But Wick Div was one of the first comics to make me feel like old. Also, as someone who wasn't into the 90s Britpop scene, Phonogram meant nothing to me. I could not understand it. I could tell it was good. I could tell Jamie McKelvey, very talented, could not connect to that particular comic. The only 90s Britpop band I really know is Oasis, and you know,
not a Blur
Oasis.
fan.
I wasn't a Blur fan. I think track 2 is pretty good. That's the woohoo one,
Zach,
right?
No. Come on, I'll send you some mixes. You could go a little deeper on Blur, and I bet you'd find some fun stuff. Maybe on Park Life. Anyway, we're getting off track. I mean, the really fun way that wraps up. I love that we really feel like after 3 issues, the Celestials are coming to destroy the planet, and Cyclops pretty much like talks them down.
Yeah, that's very good. Cyclops walks up to a Celestial. I believe it's Urshrem the Judge.
Mm-hmm.
Celestials are kind of dumb, but I love them. I love Urshrem the Judge.
He's like, this is our house. Go home.
He said, we've got it. We've got Earth here. Don't worry about it. We know. Someone screwed with your friend here. And I'm sorry about it. We had our good magnet friend keep his entire body and all of his energy together, and we've put the head back. Again, real sorry about your friend. Can you not destroy my planet?
Yeah, we forgot to mention that Magneto is serving as the Celestial's nervous system for most of this arc. It's fantastic.
It's a good use of giving Magneto something to do while definitely sidelining him because this team already has 9 members, and maybe that's too many.
Yeah, he's not needed in the battle with Sinister. So, and this version of Sinister comes back later on in this run during AVX, and I love it. I think there's a real strong case to be made that Hickman's version of Sinister is a straight line from, the flair that we're seeing here.
I mean, there's not just a case to be made. Hickman has made that explicit. He has said in his off-panel interview, which if you haven't listened to it, you should go check it out. Off-panel's my favorite interview podcast. David Harper, who runs it, does a great job with it. And he doesn't listen to other podcasts about comics, so I know he's never going to hear this, so no one tell him I said nice things about him. But it's good. Hickman has said that, he saw this Sinister, it finally worked, so he put him in Hawksbox, and he did turn him up to like 15, and he said, that was too far. I'm going to dial that back a bit. He was a little much, and it was just to get a point across. But we're gonna pull that one back a little in the future.
That was I don't think I heard that part of the interview, but I remember listening to most of that. Maybe I got to go back and re-listen to like the second half of that.
You can. It's a good one. I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Do we want to try and add this to our big list? Because this is a pretty big episode. We're going to hit 300 stories today.
Oh, dang. If I would have remembered that, we would have saved this one for the last story because it has sentimental value to me. Oh, well.
Oh. Well, it's still, it's still kind of an event here, right?
Well, what we do definitely have for 300 does make me laugh now. So, we got that going for us, which is nice. Anyway, on our road to 300 stories, which I know is something everyone's waiting with bated breath for, we have 297 on our list, ranking every X-Men story of all time. The number 1 story on our list is the Dark Phoenix saga. The number 50 story on our list is Excalibur, The Righteous Return of Alan Davis. Which, by the way, I just read all of the Alan Davis Captain Britain. Hey, Adam, it's pretty good. Good.
I've just been kind of following along, and it looks pretty awesome.
Yeah, Alan Moore also writes most of it, and it's great. It's all good. Captain Britain's not so much of a character as much as he is a person who the plot revolves around, but it really works, and I like it. It's also told in, like, because it was told in the compilations in British comics, in, like, 12-page increments or 4-page stories or stuff. So each of the beats have an interesting pacing, which is fun to read when you're used to 22 pages.
Yeah, it's a little more episodic, right?
Yeah, it just throws it off. Anyway, number 100 is that time that Unis the Untouchable couldn't eat cake. Number 150 is X-Men / Spider-Man, which I am... Oh, that's the time traveling... Oh, Sinister's in that one, too. Number 200 is the first issue of X-Men ever of all time. Number 250 is Alpha Flight 106. And the 297th story on this list is The Draco. Hey, Adam, how do you feel about this story compared to the Mr. Sinister IVX story in... or not IVX, AVX story, which is our number 59 on this list. 59.
I was thinking about that before we came on, and I think I liked that better. Like I don't know why. I just think like that particular arc is just so almost silly in that it really pushes this idea of Sinister as a system to like total next level weird. And I really loved that. The idea of using cannonball clones as cannonballs, and he has this army of Matty Pryors with him. I really enjoyed that. I don't know if it's better necessarily, but I think I liked it more. How about you?
I liked it more, and that's what's important.
Okay.
A little bit farther down our list, number 70 is The Further Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix, which is a Sinister story.
Yeah. I think I like this better than that, but but then right below that's Executioner's Song. I think we're in the right place though. I do think this is a really strong 3 issues of sort of like, if you're going to relaunch Uncanny and you're going to come up with a new team, it's a pretty strong way to do it.
Yeah, it got me reading stuff, so that says something.
Yeah, I don't think it's as good as Early Frost, Uncanny X-Men 314 at 69.
Nice. We should just put it right there then.
Okay, great. So this will be our new 70?
Our new number 70 is Everything is Sinister.
Everything is Sinister. And, okay, so let's go back in time a little bit to another version of Sinister that is a little bit more original recipe.
Yeah, this is the Sinister with the cane sugar. This is the one with the cape. This is Mr. Sinister from X-Men Volume 2, number 27, A Song of Mourning, A Cry of Joy. Written by my personal best friend Fabian Nicieza with pencils by Richard Bennett.
Yeah, and we immediately get introduced to everybody's favorite mutant, Threnody.
Okay, here's the thing. Let's talk about Threnody. Threnody is a major character in the X-Men series. Threnody...
Oh, it's an X-Men update. I've been waiting for one of these.
X-Men update mini.
It's a tiny one.
This is just a small baby X-Men update because after Threnody disappears in X-Men, she reappears pregnant, which is a plot point that isn't brought up again, though the only person she was intimate with in that time that we know of is Nate Gray, the X-Man. Storylines never brought up again until like last year in Cullen Bunn's and Mark Bagley's Deadpool Assassin.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, Threnody shows up with her evil demon baby, and I think Deadpool kills him. I don't know. Honestly, it was a really confusing story. Cullen Bunn's done some really solid Deadpool work.
Yeah, well,
this one wasn't my favorite.
Threnody as a design is pretty darn confusing. So we're introduced to her as I guess a homeless woman, but she's dressed in skin tight clothes with her shirt popping open and...
Yeah, let's talk about this shirt for a second.
Oh boy.
My wife, and this is going somewhere.
Please.
My wife has a shirt that she was wearing this weekend that has like a little tie thing at the top. Like it's like shoelaces.
Yeah.
I guess it's lace, but it was like fabric material.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tighten that and loosen it. And it was a pain because we have an infant who likes to, I say infant, he's almost 1 year old, and I'm very excited about that. Happy birthday, son. Likes to pull on the strings one way or another as if it was a hoodie and you can't get it balanced, and that's really going to frustrate you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Threnody has that, only covering her entire bosom and thorax.
Yeah, her whole front is wide open, and she has mesh sleeves, and she has chains dangling off of her, and she has all these rings, and she has sharp nails, and I'm like, okay. Like, here we clearly have a character who's introduced within the first couple pages as somebody that has been enough of a public concern and or nuisance that the cops are on a first name basis with her. And yet she is primed and ready to be dressed as this sort of like weird superhero and is objectified throughout this issue in some very awful Richard Bennett keister front poses that are really weird.
Yeah, this is some 1993 art, if there ever was one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's very much a we're not the Image guys, but we're trying art.
I don't even hate it that much. It's just, you know, there's some definite weird stuff with the way that Rogue is drawn, the way that Threnody is drawn. But all right, so we've gotten generally who Threnody is, but the storyline here I think is pretty interesting, and it's about Beast at the hospital with, of all characters, Infectia is back.
What a wild pull. Oh, yeah, Infectia from, what, 1.5 arcs of X Factor?
Yeah, yeah. She's dying of the legacy virus. Rogue and Bobby are there, and, you know, we're definitely getting callbacks to that X Factor era.
Yeah, she's dying, and a doctor comes in to get a blood sample from her. Dr. Nathan Milbury.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all know about Dr. Nathan Milbury? He was part of Project Black Womb with Charles Xavier's family.
He also happens to be Mr. Sinister.
Yeah, there's that. He is definitely also Mr. Sinister, and the nursing staff's like, oh yeah, that guy doesn't work here. What are you talking about, you weirdos? So they have to go find Mr. Sinister, who has a secret lab.
But it's not his secret lab, am I correct? Isn't there another doctor here that has this warehouse outfitted that he is helping patients of the legacy virus, or is that still supposed to be Milbury's office?
That's still supposed to be Milbury's office. You might be getting it confused with what's his name from the trading card issue of Uncanny X-Men, or no, just regular X-Men, who had the legacy virus island.
Okay, yeah, no, you're right. That's a completely different character. Anyway, the only reason I ask is because Beast interfaces with the computer in this warehouse, and it is one of the most ridiculous things ever.
You mean his virtual boy?
Yeah, he basically puts on like a Cyclop visor and like goes into, I guess, VR to interact with 1990s DOS. I don't know what he could possibly be looking at.
Look, sometimes you just want to draw techno stuff. And Fabian Nicieza is a self-admitted guy for, hey, we need some techno babble.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is visual techno babble for sure. Well, Sinister does show up, and Threnody apparently has the power to, what, kind of like explode when someone is about to die or is going to die? Or
she can absorb death energy and pain and misery, which makes her really useful as a tracker for mutants who have the legacy virus, because they're in a lot of pain.
Yes, and Sinister, after getting Beast's thumb stuck in his mouth, which is disgusting, admits that he actually wants the legacy virus to be cured just as much as the X-Men, and kind of insinuates that he might have it.
Yeah, kind of, but at this point, Mr. Sinister was not yet revealed to have Thunderbird's mutant X gene, which is a plot point that is so weird. And
I was explaining that to someone the other day, and they were like, "You're making that up," and I'm like, "No, I'm not. It's in Hogspots."
Did you tell him? Did you tell them that Mr. Sinister explains this to us in a blind items list, like a gossip rag?
I didn't get that far into it.
Because
I was just like,
how we find that out is almost as good as what we find out.
It's pretty ridiculous. Sinister does get Beast to say, take Threnody, take her. Like, she's better off with him. And I love the little sweet ending of this issue, which is that Beast, all Infectia wants to do is just go outside in her last living moments, and Beast does that for her. And these are the kind of scenes that I think Fabian does really, really well in this era. These sort of like tender, very human, emotional beats. But it's an interesting issue that I don't know that a lot of this got followed up on,
I don't think it did. I mean, because pretty soon after this, you run into the Phalanx Covenant, and then Age of Apocalypse, and then Fabian's not on the book.
It's these kind of interesting plot points that were leading to maybe the legacy virus, having, I don't know, not just being this lingering concern that hangs around for a decade, but
that's what happens. The entire legacy virus stuff really does just get dropped.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And this is the kind of issue that makes it interesting, and makes it something that, because it's also revealed in this issue that Quanon has the legacy virus as well. So, it should have gone further, but obviously the writers changed and it just kind of got dropped. So for what it is, I think it's pretty interesting. The art leaves something to be desired. Where do you think this should go on the list?
Well, what I'm looking for right now is a very similar story, and here it is. It's at number 145, X-Men Endangered Species, which is kind of this, just stretched out into a bunch of backup stories for the M-Day stuff.
That's a good comparison. I think that is overall a better story arc than what we're reading here.
I would agree.
Because it's starting to test Beast's ethics a little bit more interestingly. But you're right that this is the origin of that.
I agree. You know what this story is also not better than?
What's that?
Ghost Rider, Wolverine, Punisher, Hearts of Darkness at 163. It's not better than that.
No, it is not better than that.
Very similar to number 74 on our list, X-Men 39, Adam X the Extreme Goes Camping.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, in terms of the emotional beats that it's able to hit, that's actually a really good place on the list. And yet I don't know that this is as good as the Cocaine Wolverine story or Legion Quest.
And I think Champions 12 is probably better. Magneto's probably better. It feels a lot like Uncanny 300 to me. Like, this is exactly the right spot. Because I like this better than, below that's number 183, New Mutants, Truth or Death. And I like this better than Truth or Death.
Do you like it better than Nation X at 182?
Nation X is just real long.
And
And it's got Greg Land art. A lot of Greg Land art.
Well, maybe this is our new 182 then.
Yeah, right under 300.
Perfect. I like that a lot.
I'm glad that we're talking about Uncanny X-Men 300 on our road to 300.
Yeah, and we've got one more Sinister story to talk about here.
We have made it to the hot gates, folks. We are at 300, and what could be more 300 than the story that was coming out as I was starting the Xavier Files media empire, which we all know and love today.
And what story is that, Zach?
That story is Extraordinary X-Men numbers 1 through 5.
Yes, by Jeff Lemire and illustrated by Humberto Ramos.
It is. So we talked about a sister book to this, Cullen Bunn's Uncanny X-Men, as I like to call it, Buncanny X-Men, last week.
Yeah, we were just there. We were talking about this a little bit as well.
So this is the story where we find out that after a book that came out on the same day, to be clear, was Uncanny 600, where Cyclops has a very rewarding, peaceful march on the Lincoln Memorial in the National Mall in Washington, D.C., and gives a big speech about mutant-human unity and, how maybe we should all just, not suck.
Sure. Yeah, it's that rushed ending to Bendis's run that is somewhat peaceful, right? It's hopeful.
It is. And then this happened also the same day, in which we found out that everything sucks. The X-Men are hated and feared because of some mysterious thing that Cyclops did. And also that there is a murder cloud that is not only going to kill mutants and make them super sick with the Mpox, but also sterilizes them in a plot point that they keep hitting on as a big deal. But after this thing, they realize, oh man, maybe that plot point sucks and we shouldn't talk about it. And they never talk about it again.
Yeah, I think I just pointed out the other day that was actually, it's not Hickman's fault that editorial took it in this big direction, but it is kind of funny that Hickman did create the Terrigen Mist bomb that gets set off in the Infinity event. I think a lot of people forget about that's the origin of this. But yeah, it is incredibly annoying to go from Unity speech at the end of Uncanny 600 to Cyclops is an absolute fascist monster and we can't believe what he did. That turns out to be nothing.
Here's what I'll say. And we'll talk about this more when we actually cover that story. In a vacuum, the 4 issues of Death of X are very good and I think tell a really solid and poignant story. In the larger context of what X-Men had been building up for a while, it sucks. It really just blows.
Regardless of where this ends up, I think we were setting up some things that they just could not back up later on. This is such an era of editorial mismanagement where you clearly have ideas being thrown around. The Xavier Mansion is in limbo. There's a murderous Terrigen Mist cloud, and we have this fun lineup, I guess. We're changing the costumes. Everybody has beards now.
Okay, hold on. Don't besmirch Colossus's very good beard. Nightcrawler's goatee thing, whatever. He gets a better beard in X-Men Red. Colossus's skin fade with a beard speaks to me on a deep level.
It's a great look. It's a great look. I like the designs of these characters. I like Ramos's art here as well.
I'm not a big Ramos guy, but that's on me.
Okay, but there are some fun elements here that Lemire is playing around with. I love that there's this sort of hijacked giant gentle sentinel flying around. I think what weighs this down a little bit is we're spending a lot of time in these 3 issues, and we'll get to the Sinister stuff in a second, but we're spending
5 issues, but yeah.
Oh, 5 issues, excuse me. We're spending a lot of time getting Old Man Logan back on this team and connecting with Teen Jean, and it just seems like it doesn't need to be that long. I don't know. Did you have that issue with this?
Yeah, so the plot is really stretched out over these 5 issues.
Yeah.
Because it's, establish the new status quo, which is the X-Men live in hell now, and the Earth is trying to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we've got that. I don't like it, but we've got it. Second thing you have to establish. Hey, Old Man Logan lives here now, and we're all going to have to just accept that for the next 4 years. Which I don't mind. Actually, the Jeff Lemire Old Man Logan series is pretty good, and what I've read of Ed Brisson's Dead Man Logan, pretty solid stuff.
Oh, I loved Lemire's Old Man Logan. It just, does it really need to take that long to go, oh, look, there's an old Wolverine, and now he's on the team? Like, no, it doesn't. The other central part of this story, which does involve Mr. Sinister, is really trying to shoehorn in the Inhuman stuff. And it's just like, X-Men fans do not want this. He's experimenting with Scott's DNA and combining it with Inhuman's DNA to see if they can defeat the Terrigen Mists by creating a new subspecies, I guess.
And he does it this weird way where he captures Nightcrawler first. And Nightcrawler in this book, a lot of stuff can be chalked up to editorial. This one I'm chalking up to Jeff Lemire. Jeff Lemire, who is legitimately one of the comic book writers I will buy pretty much anything with his name on it. Jeff Lemire doesn't do a great job with this version of Nightcrawler, who is just someone who quotes the Bible all the time.
Yeah, and also sidelines him for big chunks of this, which I don't know.
He gets his tail cut off. They put it on ice.
Yeah, yes. There, and like I said, he's playing around with some fun ideas here. You can tell he's trying to play the long game by introducing Sapna right off the bat in the first issue. But for all the nice moments with like Glob and Anale in the battlefield, it's, I don't know. It just feels directionless to a certain extent.
Yeah, because the whole thing ends up in a big fight with Sinister's clone of Cyclops, who's a bad design, Umberto. He just didn't do good on that one.
Yeah, he's basically Scott with pants and Anale arm, like, and then turns into like, I don't know, something.
He turns into a kaiju.
Yeah.
By the end of this. They have a big fight in New York City, and then Storm gives a big impassioned speech saying, hey, we're the X-Men, we'll always protect you, but don't freaking cross us, we're having a rough time.
Yeah, and everybody goes back to Limbo, and then we get the series started with this interesting, weird, like, grandfather-granddaughter vibe between Old Man Logan and Teen Jean, and okay. There's stuff here that's interesting and enjoyable to a certain extent, but this is not a fave. As we said last week with the Bun Uncanny, like, this era just presents so many issues.
It's not up to the level that I know this entire creative team can do. I would love to see Jeff Lemire get a legitimate shot at writing X-Men the way he wants to write X-Men. Mm-hmm. I think it would be fascinating. I love Jeff Lemire's stuff. It's so good. This comic is bad. This comic upsets me. This comic sets up a status quo that made it real hard to get excited about the X-Men books. They were stuck in this rut of everything sucks all the time for the X-Men, and they just needed a friggin' win. And we had to wait until Hox Pox to get that win in a book that was legitimately designed to say, we gotta let the X-Men have one here, guys. It's been a long time.
Well, and I think that's a big part of why this big chunk of X-Men, which I think is unfairly squished together, is called the Extinction Era now. That's sort of what it was dubbed in the promotional materials leading up to Hoxbox. And I think there have been many more highlights after the IVX stuff goes down. But overall, it all points to sort of like this directionlessness, that this idea of feeling lost, and even just the central conceit of like all of the books in this time, in this part of this launch, are talking about a plot point that clearly had not been discussed and or decided behind the scenes as to what did Cyclops do. You can tell if you read the different titles, no one knows what he did. They all have to refer to it in various levels of, how horrible it is, but no one knows what that is because they had not made that decision. So you can tell there's no forward planning,
Yeah, it's rough. I would love to get Charles Soule or Jeff Lemire on the horn at some point just to talk about what in the world was going on, because I think it's a fascinating timeline from a meta perspective, and I hate reading about it. There's good stories in these books. There's highlights in Extraordinary. There's still like spots where Lemire shines, but this is a rough book to revisit. I did not love it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But it is when I started writing about X-Men, which sure is a time.
Well, last week we put the Cullen Bunn Uncanny X-Men Volume 4, numbers 1 through 4, in at 224. How do you think this stacks up against that?
I think art-wise, it's better.
Okay, I agree.
I think plot-wise, they're about on the same foot.
Mm-hmm.
This Buns is a little too wild for its own good. This one is dragging out a plot that doesn't need to be 5 issues.
Yeah. I think I would put this lower than where we had that last story.
That's where my gut is. I probably like the No More Humans OJN better than this.
Yup. I think I like the 2 issues of Jim Lee Mojoverse at 232 better.
You know I love the Ultimate Sinister story better than this.
Yeah, that's in at 233.
Do you know what that one's got, Adam? Adam, do you know what that one's got? I want to tell you. In case you or our listeners don't know, do you know what that one has?
Please refresh everyone's memory, Zach.
Adam, in that story, we learn what Charles Xavier's greatest weakness is.
And what is his greatest weakness, Zach?
Stairs! It's very bad, but I love it. Is this better or worse than Colossus Bloodline?
All right, I'm going to put it ahead of that.
Okay, I think that's a good choice too.
Yeah.
I don't think it's better than like the G Nation plus Iceman and Rogue Road Trip stuff at 235.
I would probably give it the slight edge over Operation Zero Tolerance.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
So that would make it our new 236.
That does make it 236. With apologies to Jeff Lemire, Extraordinary X-Men 1 through 5.
Hey, we know just based on some interviews that he was not super happy with all of this, so I don't think he'd be particularly offended.
Yeah, go read Sentient or Ascender. I haven't read the first trade of Ascender yet. I've borrowed it, and I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, that looked really good. I haven't read that.
Did you read Descender?
No, but I always see who does the art on that. It's
that's Dustin
Nguyen. Yeah, it looks beautiful.
Yeah, it rules. You would love it. It's about a robot.
I love robots. Love them.
Yeah, go get on Hoopla and get the full Descender and just read that, Adam. That's your homework. That's all of your guys' homework for the week. Read Descender.
I like that. That sounds like a good plan.
It is a good plan.
Well, Zach,
hey, everyone.
We made it to 300 stories.
We did. We've completed our road. Our watch has ended. Nope, that's not what they say. What do they say in that thing?
What, in Game of Thrones?
No, 300.
Besides, we're back to 300 again. I don't
We
remember.
were at 300. We fought in the shade. They tried to take our weapons, but unlike the mighty Spartans, we prevailed.
Is that the dialogue? I don't remember.
I mean, some of those are just historical quotes, but anyway.
Let me give it to you.
Anyway, thanks, Trent, for supporting us on Patreon and supporting this episode. If you want to be like him, go over to Patreon. Again, we are going to be making changes to the Patreon soon because y'all supported this show so much that we don't have open slots for new episodes, which poses a problem.
Yeah, for a long time. So we're figuring that out.
We will sort it out. I just haven't yet.
That's fair.
I just have to think about it. I've been busy. They've put out a lot of X-Men comics that I go over to XavierFiles.com and I edit very good articles about them, including last week when we had articles about X-Men #2 and Fallen Angels written by my good friend Arthur Stacey.
Hey, yeah. Tony Thornley and I are taking on those missing lobsters. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. As of recording, I haven't finished writing that piece yet.
Yeah, as your editor, I've got to we got to finish up this podcast so you can do that.
I'm on it. It's happening.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Also, after we finish up this podcast, I'm going to be recording the next episode of Boku no X Anime, the X-Men anime podcast, where we talk about the X-Men anime with me and Luz Bianca. It should have already gone up, but it's episode 3. It's called Armor, and guess what? The show's finally got good characters in it now because Armor and Emma Frost show up, and it rules. Adam, did you know that Kick is in the show? You know Kick, right?
Yeah, I'm familiar with Kick, yes.
You know in the show, Kick is a half-bodied robot U-Man who does look like Geneva from Final Fantasy VII.
Wait, what? That doesn't make any sense.
Nope. His best friend is Sublime, who looks like Mad-Eye Mooney.
Oh, that's so weird. Okay. Well,
It's
now
so
I know
wild.
I'm tuning in.
Yeah. Next week, we're going to be talking about other stuff. We're figuring it out, guys. You don't need spoilers. Just run with it. But until then, this has been Battle of the Atom. We hope you survived the experience.
Get it!